Hey everybody, we're going to continue our geography unit. We have looked at the continents, we have looked at the different oceans of the world. Well, now we're going to look at some different states that border us in Kentucky. Okay, there are 7 states that border Kentucky. Technically, this is not a 3rd grade standard, but it is a huge standard in 4th grade. So I thought we might as well continue our geography unit and learn a little bit about where we live. So, of course, Kentucky's in the United States. I went ahead and I pulled up Google Earth. So here we are, Kentucky. We live right in this area. We live in Western Kentucky. And again, there are 7 states that touch Kentucky. Now, that is a lot of states to have bordering us. The highest is 8, and Tennessee has 8, and Missouri has 8. But Kentucky has 7. Missouri is one of them. This is Missouri. Illinois is another one. This is Illinois. See the dotted line? That's how you know where a state's at. Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, and Tennessee. Okay. I'm going to teach you a little bit about each of these states. Now, many of you guys have probably traveled to some of these states or maybe several of these states and have a lot of good stories of your own and good memories of your own. I know I've traveled to all of these states except West Virginia. So let me teach you a little bit about the states that surround us. Before we get started with the states that surround us, let's learn about Kentucky. Okay. Kentucky is the horse capital of the world, okay, because we have the Kentucky Derby. The goldenrod is our state flower. So some of you guys might have seen these flowers. This is our state flower. This is a goldenrod. Frankfort is our capital. Frankfort is kind of right between Lexington and Louisville. Lexington and Louisville are our biggest cities, but our largest city is actually Louisville. Mammoth Cave is located in Kentucky, and it's the world's longest cave. Our nickname is the Bluegrass State. Now, we actually don't have bluegrass, but there is a type of grass that grows in Kentucky that at certain times of the year has a blue tint to it. So that is how we got our nickname of the Bluegrass State. Our state bird is the cardinal. I come to find out once I was doing all this research on these states, a lot of states have the cardinal as their state bird. And a fun fact about Kentucky is the Happy Birthday song was actually invented in Kentucky by 2 girls. And there are 4 million people that live in Kentucky. So I went ahead and I included where we live. This is Marshall County in the red. That's the county that we live in. There's our cardinal. This is a picture of Mammoth Cave. This is a picture of the Kentucky Derby. This is where we are at on the map of the United States, and here is our state flag. All right, next slide. All right, the first state that we're going to look at is Illinois. Illinois is directly above us. If you look, here's Kentucky. Here's Illinois in the red. Okay, the capital of Illinois is Springfield, but Chicago is located in Illinois. Okay, there's many movies that are in Chicago. It's the 3rd largest city in the United States. And I just thought I should include this because it became a state on December 3rd. Well, that was yesterday. So I thought I'll throw that in there so that they know that yesterday was Illinois' birthday. It is known as the land of Lincoln or the Prairie State. The reason it's known as the land of Lincoln is because Lincoln was actually raised in Illinois. Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president that freed the slaves. Now, did you know that Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky, but when he was just 3 years old, he moved to Illinois, so that is why it's called the land of Lincoln. The state flower is your blue violet. There are 12 million people that live in Illinois, so a lot more people than what live in Kentucky. Kentucky actually has 4 million people. They have 12 million. That's 3 times as many people. The tallest building in the world is located in Illinois, and it's the Willis Tower. And you can actually go to Chicago and go in this big dome that's glass, and you can look out over it. And a fun fact is McDonald's originated from Illinois. So here is your tallest building in the world. There's our flag. Here's some different cities that are located in Illinois. Chicago's at the very tip on the north side. So most of the time, if you're from Chicago, you're known as a northerner. Okay, here's a picture of Chicago. Chicago's known for having the Green Lake around St. Patrick's Day. The lake that is in Chicago is Lake Michigan. It looks like an ocean. I've been to Chicago. I've seen that ocean. I've seen that lake, and it is massive and it's beautiful. Many of you have probably been to Illinois before. All right, next state that we're going to learn about is right next to Illinois. It is Indiana. Indiana is in the red. So this was Illinois. This is Indiana. Okay. The capital of Indiana is Indianapolis. It's a very clean city. In Indiana, they're actually known for their popcorn. I don't know about you, but this exact popcorn is always in our pantry. It's called Popcorn Indiana. It's drizzled. They make all kinds of different popcorn because they make a ton of corn. There is a ton of cornfields in Indiana. Holiday World, if you've ever been to Holiday World, is in Indiana, and it's the world's first theme park. I did not know that until I started Googling some different fun facts about Indiana. But Holiday World is the world's first theme park, and it's located in Santa Claus, Indiana. And there are several letters every time around Christmas that are sent there. The state flower is the peony. This is the peony. And then the nickname is the Crossroads of America or the Hoosier State. And I went ahead and included the University of Indiana. They are called the Hoosiers. So you got Holiday World right here. There are 19 stars on the Indiana flag. That's because it's the 19th state of the United States. And this is a picture of Indianapolis. And there are 6 million people that live in Indiana. So it is more populous than Kentucky, more populated. Next is Ohio. Ohio's capital is Columbus. One of my best friends is actually from Columbus. It's a very pretty city. And they also have Cincinnati in Ohio. It's known as the Buckeye State. So if you are familiar with the University of Ohio, they are also known as the Buckeyes. So I included that with their football team. The flower is the red carnation, right over here. The Erie Canalway is 110 miles, and it's in Ohio, and you can bike ride on it. You can take a boat ride on it. You can walk along the trails. It's just something that Ohio is known for. Fun facts, we've been learning about the Ice Age. Well, Ice Age sloth remains have been found in Ohio, and they think they're about 13,000 years old. And 7 U.S. presidents were born there. And again, it is a very populated state. There are 11 million people that live there. This is a picture also of Columbus, Ohio. All right, next state that we're going to be learning about. Oh, and I forgot to say, this is Ohio in the red. So we've done Illinois, Indiana, and now Ohio. So the next one's going to be West Virginia. That's kind of the circular looking one. West Virginia. West Virginia, the capital is Charleston. Now, that's not to be confused with South Carolina's Charleston. That's where I went on fall break. There are 2 different Charleston cities. So if you know that you've been to Charleston, check with your adult to see which state that would be in. It's known as the Mountain State. Why? Because 75% of West Virginia is covered in forest and mountains. You're talking about the Appalachian Mountains. You probably look up here, oh, that looks like Gatlinburg. I've been to Gatlinburg. Well, that's because it's a part of the Appalachian Mountains. The mountains aren't really, really tall, but they have a ton of greenery and a ton of trees that cover them. So the scenery looks really similar to what you would see in Gatlinburg. Some people fight on whether West Virginia is a southern state or a northern state. Some people say it's the most southern northern state, and some people say it's the most northern southern state. So it goes back and forth, and even in the Civil War, it kind of went back and forth with whether it was the Union or not. I know that they split from Virginia. The state flower, I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, but I'll ask Google. I think it's called rhododendron. Okay, Google, what is the state flower for West Virginia? I'll let it pronounce it.
The state flower of West Virginia is rhododendron.
Rhododendron. It's a mouthful. There are only 2 million people that live in West Virginia. So it's not very populated, which explains why it has the lowest crime rate. Okay, it's a very safe place to live. And the New River is really unique because it's one of the few rivers that flow north and south. Okay, it goes both ways. Versus like the Mississippi River that you guys have probably seen, it flows south. It flows in one direction. All right, the next state that we're going to be learning about is Virginia. Okay, this is Virginia. So we've looked at Illinois, Indiana, we've looked at Ohio, West Virginia, and now we're learning about Virginia. Virginia is where we had the first Thanksgiving at Plymouth. Okay, so it is an older state. The American dogwoods, which you probably have seen, they're in Kentucky. It's those trees that bloom white flowers in the springtime. That is their state flower. The capital is Richmond. Richmond's very spread out. There are a lot of different bridges and things that go throughout Richmond. I played the World Series when I was 18 at Richmond. It was a really cool city. Old Dominion is its nickname, and I thought, well, Old Dominion, that's a famous country band. So whenever I asked Google about Old Dominion, it did say that they are originally from Virginia. So that's how they got their name for their band, Old Dominion. Virginia is a part of the 13 original colonies. Like I said, it's an older state. There is a beach in Virginia. So if you look, you'll see the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of people I know a famous beach is Virginia Beach. My husband's best friend lives in Virginia Beach. He's stationed there. It also has the Appalachian Mountains. And there are 8 million people that live in Virginia. So up here's a picture of Richmond. Here's a sign. This is actually on a plantation in Plymouth about the first Thanksgiving and where it was located. Like I said, these are the mountains. It's the same mountain range that you see in West Virginia and in Gatlinburg and in Tennessee. This is what Virginia looks like, and then this is their state flower. Okay, we've looked at, again, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia. Now we move on to Tennessee. I'm sure several of you guys have been to Tennessee. The capital of Tennessee, I put capital as Tennessee. The capital of Tennessee is Nashville. I need to switch that. Capital of Tennessee is Nashville. I'm sure several of you guys have been to Nashville before. Nashville is known as Music City because it produces a lot of country singers. Many, many country singers live in Nashville. It's known as the volunteer state because the War of 1812, it had so many people volunteer. So that's actually where the University of Tennessee, how they are known as the Vols, Go Vols, is because that stands for volunteers. So it is like Ohio in that way of the Buckeyes. There are a lot of cities in Tennessee, a lot of key cities. You've got Nashville, you've got Memphis. Memphis is where Elvis is from. You've got Knoxville, that's where the University of Tennessee is. Chattanooga kind of borders Georgia, and it has a lot of those pretty mountain views. And then you have Gatlinburg, which again, several of you guys have been to, and it has the mountainous views. Lookout Mountain is in Tennessee. You can go to Lookout Mountain. I've been at this place, and you can see 7 different states from this one spot. Yeah, 7 different states. So that has the rock that shows you where each state is located. So you just hike up there, and then you have this beautiful scenery. And Tennessee is unique because it has 8 different states that border it. There are 6 million people that live in Tennessee, which surprised me. I figured there'd be more than that because they have so many big cities. The flower is the iris, and that's this purple flower. And it has a lot of professional sports teams that you guys might be familiar with, like the Memphis Grizzlies, the Tennessee Titans, the Nashville Predators. So here's Nashville. You'll see the Batman building. And then I included a picture of Tennessee with those key cities on it. And our last state that we're going to look at is Missouri. So I'm going to look at our map right here. Look at my mouse. We've looked at Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee, and now we're looking at our very last state that borders Kentucky, and that is Missouri. Missouri, the capital of Missouri is Jefferson City, but some main cities in Missouri that you might have visited are St. Louis and Branson. Branson is the city that has all the different shows where people sing to you. St. Louis has the gateway to the West Arch, so it represents moving westward and expanding the United States. So that is actually why there is a big arch in St. Louis. You can actually ride in this arch. There's an elevator that goes to the top. It's known as the Show Me State or the Cave State because there are several different caves in Missouri. I know this is one in Springfield, Missouri. There are 6 million people that live in Missouri, so the same as Tennessee. And the tallest man in history was from Missouri. He was almost 9 feet tall. Just one more inch and he is 9 feet tall. And this is him. And lastly, Missouri was named after the tribe Missouri, and that was known as the town of Canoes. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Google Earth. Okay, so again, we're going to look at our states. So Kentucky's where we're from. We started with Illinois. We talked about how Illinois has Chicago. We talked about how Indiana has Indianapolis as its capital. It produces a lot of corn. We talked about Ohio, and Ohio has several people that live there. It has Columbus. It has Cincinnati. West Virginia doesn't have very many people that live there, but it is beautiful. It has a ton of mountains, and there aren't a lot of crimes in West Virginia because there's so few people. Then you have Virginia. Virginia is an older state. Okay, its capital is Roanoke. It also has a lot of mountains and beaches. There's, again, Virginia Beach. Then you have Tennessee that has a ton of different cities. Okay, Tennessee's capital is Nashville. And lastly, we have Missouri. Missouri has St. Louis located in it that has the big arch. And it also has Branson that has all the different shows. It's very touristy. Okay, so my main goal for you guys is to be able to identify these. So in our Google Meet on Friday, we are going to look further into these states. We might visit some on Google Maps. My goal is by the time that we have Christmas break, you're able to quickly identify them and maybe tell me a fun fact about each one. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to hear about some of the schema that you have about some of these states.